similar funding issues in the future, and how will the organization improve its overall?
Good comrades. Limpopo, we can do it silently, comrades. Soxa, can we do it silently, comrades? We're in the middle of a serious engagement. We are dealing with NSFAS issues, comrades, unless you are not here for a policy conference. Thank you, Soxa. You can continue, Daship.
I was almost done. I was done.
You're done?
I'm done.
Okay. Greetings in the name of academic excellence, comrades. My question is based on TVET sector. I wanted to know as of why NSFAS is only covering TVET for only 10 months, whereas the academic period for TVET colleges starts from January until December, because some students are writing on the 13th of December. And again, my question is for accreditation of TVET colleges. There was NDT that came to campuses and students signed contracts. But when allowances were released, there were late communication. So students being told that they have to pay landlords, whereas there was an agreement that NSFAS will pay landlords directly. And the communication part is late. Some students have already spent the money because they were not informed that they will receive extra allowance to pay landlords. And they have valid reasons that we have signed contract that said we must not talk to landlords about funds, about paying them their outstanding funding. Yeah. And again, NSFAS for TVET colleges will be told that we must not reapply for second semester. It will reapply for us. And then as time goes by, it will say unavailability of funds. You are not funded because it took time to respond to your application. So I think we need proper communication in regards to that and proper administration. Thank you.
Before you speak, no one must repeat, comrades. I'm listening carefully. If you can repeat something that is said, I'm going to stop you entirely. One, two.
Sorry for the delay, comrades. Mine is very short. I'm here to actually, I'm not. Okay, I'm not here to ask when NSFAS is going to deal with the issues of. Okay, I'm not here to ask.
One, two. I'm going to help you, my brother. You can't hold the mic. Let me help you.
All right. So I'm not here to ask when NSFAS is going to deal with the issues of historical debt, but I'm here to plead with NSFAS officials to please assist us as students with paying our NSFAS historical debt, because we were funded and we passed. Some of us passed with flying colors. We even got university bursaries after our qualifications. But comrades, we have not yet received our certificates. And some of us are going to be graduating for the second time. We're not going to get our certificates. We were funded in 2021. We've been trying to deal with that issue. I've sent numerous emails to NSFAS, even myself. I cannot assist students if myself I am not assisted. It is my future that is being compromised. So I'm pleading with NSFAS to please deal with the issue of historical debt, because universities are really abusing us. For example, the TUKs, and they are saying now that if you have a historical debt of 100,000 rands, you have to pay that amount before you can register in 2026. Otherwise, you won't be able to register. And then another issue that we have had this year, we have had NSFAS opening in January for TVET colleges, but university students ended up applying for that NSFAS in that NSFAS period. And then the registration data, the universities sent that registration data and they were funded. But as the year went on, in March, after they registered, they were allowed to register. They were defunded and they never received allowances after that. Now they are stuck with debt. So next year, especially in Newcastle, because it is where I'm coming from, next year there's been a financial concession that says that if you have a debt in 2025, you will not be able to register next year. You have to pay the whole amount. So I'm pleading with NSFAS to please deal with those issues. And then lastly, in the TVET sector, I think it has been newly established the accommodation part. So now I would like to request that because TVET sectors or in TVET institutions, there's been no housing department. Can NSFAS please demand that TVET sectors hire at least one representative who will be a messenger of the students to the institution and then from the institution to NSFAS? Thank you.
You took too much time.
Greetings, comrades. Standing in front of you is Comrade Dex from Northwest. I'm shaking, I'm very nervous, and I have a lot to say, but I'll try to be brief as possible. CEO, we recently, but I do stand to be corrected though, Butimana Mela made an announcement that we have this particular number of matriculants in SA, and only this particular number of students will be able to receive acceptance into universities and funding. But now the question is, what is going to happen? What is supposed to happen to the remaining students? What are they supposed to do with their lives? But again, another one, with regards to accommodation. I'm from Mafikeng, right? NW Mafikeng campus. We have what we call NSFAS accredited accommodations. And yesterday, my colleague mentioned our program that we call Operation Indlovu Iyangena, whereby we do random visits to those NSFAS accredited accommodations. But now, when we visit those accommodations, we find out that the living conditions that our students are subjected to, they are not in alignment with or rather, they are not in alignment with what you can regard to as a NSFAS accredited accommodation, because the service delivery is very poor. So now, I personally would really appreciate, CEO, if NSFAS would, I don't know, contact Angazi, how to put it in words, but we would really appreciate if there would be regular visits to these accommodations that they really do meet the requirements to be accredited. And again, year to year, we experience this thing of now students having to register late, universities closing their registrations early, meaning that now other students are left behind. And as Sasco, we always preach for no students shall remain behind. So we are kindly pleading that the following academic year, CEO, we do not experience such things as delayed registrations whatsoever, and that our students receive the acceptance letter in time. Thank you.
Greetings, comrades. I would like to extend my warmest, most sincere revolutionary greetings to the CEO of NSFAS, and I welcome his presence in today's gathering.
Leadership, leave the greetings and everything.
All right.
Shoot straight.
Yes, so I stand before you today not only as a comrade of Sasco from the branch, as the chairperson of the Gandhi Square campus, but also as a disgruntled student of the University of South Africa. There are three main issues that we are facing as students of the University of South Africa that really need serious intervention. The first one is the fact that there is a high number of students in which their second semester modules have not been paid to this day, although they are all NSFAS beneficiaries. We need to know why exactly.
Wait. This thing, comrades, of boo and clapping hands, it will delay time. We are working against time, comrades. Shoot, my brother.
We need to know exactly what is the issue. Why is it that full NSFAS beneficiaries for the entire year are unable to view their selective results for the examinations due to the fact that NSFAS has not been clearing the bills? The second issue, Mr. CEO, is the fact that NSFAS has one of the lowest student living allowances. However, we find students being unable to get a measly 360 rands per month for months and months on time, whereas other students from other universities and institutions are able to get much more, and their fees actually clear on time. So please let us know, why is it exactly that is causing this issue? And my last point, last but not least, Mr. CEO, is the dismal lack of coordination between the communication between NSFAS and UNISA as the two institutions. It is a disgrace that whenever I try to contact the offices at UNISA with my issues with regards to funding, I am referred to the NSFAS offices. But whenever I try to call the NSFAS office, if I'm actually lucky enough to get through to a call center agent, I am referred back to my institution. We need to know why exactly is the issue with
Your
regards
time
to the
is up.
coordination
Your time
of
is up.
combination.
Your
Thank
time
you.
is up, leader.
Thank you. Thank you, NSFAS CEO, for the beautiful presentation. I think what NSFAS ought to shy away from, though, is to want attention or us to clap for a fish that is swimming, because the responsibility of NSFAS is to fund people. And that it's not a 100% rate. It means already that's a failure on our part. But I'd like to give input on this part of NSFAS having third parties on everything. Funding is third party, residences is third party. NSFAS is already a third party to government. It must not create fourth parties now, because it seems as if NSFAS is outsourcing everything. I wouldn't be surprised that even the branding for NSFAS is not done in your office, or maybe the stationery is in a different office. This is not good, because this is money we should be getting for December allowances. So please, NSFAS, the fourth party something must be fixed. Thank you.
Greetings, Comrade CEO. My name is Tony. I would like to raise on 2 points. Firstly, I would like you to clarify on the system of NSFAS. At the beginning of this year, you opened applications, or rather late application for TVET colleges. But now, I think there are about 9,000 students who applied, including university students. Now it raises concerns, because you will find that those students who are university students were previously denied funding. But when they applied for funding during that time where you opened for TVET colleges, they were funded. So now I want to clarify on the matter of system. And the second point, I would like to raise a sense of awareness, or I would say like that, on the matter of corruption, or rather fraud, that is happening within the sector. We are facing a number of students who are having something like a dual registration, but when you will find that those students have been paid their allowances and their tuitions in both campuses, which raises a concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Greetings, CEO. I have this simple question. Since you are the CEO of NSFAS, I would like to ask, how are you willing to develop a new system that is going to deal with outstanding allowances for our students? Another question is, how is NSFAS going to deal with institutions who demand students to pay tuition while they qualify for the N+ rule? And I would like you to even explain furthermore as how students with disability qualify, and how do they qualify for an N+ rule, and why students should not be victimized by institutions who are, these students who are living with disability. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair of the session. I think I'm captured by the later leaders. But mine, I think I'll ask 2 questions. My first question, CFO, would be, as you know that as 2023, there was TENET. That financial crisis, that saw, a lot of students being financially excluded in 2024. What is the recovery plan in terms of that? as a lot of students have fall in, under N+1 and N+2. My second question would be this. There are a lot of students that are, are funded by NSFAS. But you see that those students, in the long run, after completion, they don't get the qualifications because their institutions are saying that NSFAS have not, paid their tuition. I seek a question to say that what is NSFAS, doing in terms of, ensuring that they pay in time so that the students upon their graduation are getting their qualifications. Thank you.
Comrade CEO, there has been calls by the Minister of Finance regarding the scrapping of NSFAS to direct student funding to institutions of higher learning. So my question comes as this. I want to understand how will the transition from NSFAS to direct student funding be of a benefit to the students as they are the primary stakeholders of the DHET? So that is my question. Thank you very much.
Good day, Comrade CEO. My name is Tepo Moleko. I had a moria of questions, but most of them have been covered. So I'm here to give you directives. I checked my student portal not so long ago. It says I owe 4,000. Please pay that month before I take action. Number two, NSFAS has created a dilemma that is reoccurring every year. We have an issue that, as comrades, we are sitting here. We are planning to strike on February because we know, Vele, you won't pay our fees. It is not normal that we are sitting here and we are budgeting for paraclavas and petrol bombs. The delegations of Northwest told me to tell you that if we don't receive our money on time next year, we shall render this country useless. Thank you.
Greetings, CEO. I'm from KZN, from the University of Zululand, a historically disadvantaged institution. My brother, leadership, go back. Aye. We're taking chances. You want us to sleep here, Mus? Comrade CEO, I'm from the University of Zululand and HDI University. Now, Comrade CEO, there's a policy that was approved by NSFAS that a residence that is within 5 kilometers radius is not provided with transport. Comrade Chair, there are residents, in fact, Comrade DP, we regard this policy as a nonsensical policy and a policy that is unfair. Because in our HDIs, there are students who have to walk in a forest for them to get into their residences. So, Comrade Chair, I'm proposing that we need to have a deviation from this policy from all universities that are existing in HDIs. And also, Comrade CEO, I want to report to you that people that you have hired to do inspection in residences, they do not go there because there are residences that exist that are not conducive. For example, Deputy President, for example, in Unizulu, there was a time where we had to go and fetch students from a residence that is outside 20-kilometer radius. So I want to report to you that your people are not doing their job, Comrade Lokuza. Thank you very much, Chair.
Mandla, I'd be very short like a miniskirt CEO. I only have 3 questions here. What steps is NSFAS taking to improve its information and communication system? Because it's bad, Comrade CEO. How will NSFAS ensure that its systems are secure and efficient? The third one, CEO, as the CEO of NSFAS, what are your priorities? What are you prioritizing in order to make that students receive and get their allowances? Thank you very much.
You have been the most clearest person who have spoken here.
Greeting to the CEO of NSFAS. I'm a TVET student, and we have a problem that we're facing currently, especially level 3 students from TVET colleges. We have, especially in my campus, 18 students currently that are still writing have been kicked out from their accommodations due to the agreement between due to the accommodations and the contracts that have been done between NSFAS and you and the accommodations. They got kicked out because it said that it ends on the 30th. TVET students are finishing with their exams on the 12th of December. Currently, we don't have accommodation. We don't have transportation. What is NSFAS doing about that?
Direct, most direct. My leader, direct.
Thank you, comrades. CEO of NSFAS, I have just two questions for you. So there was an announcement in the news about a war room that the Minister of Education, Buti Manamela, is going to concoct alongside you guys, just to ensure that there is effective measures in terms of registration. So I wanted to know what's the integration of SRCs into this thing, because we might see you guys doing this thing with the Minister of Higher Education, but the integration of SRCs and the communication downwards to the rest of structures, such as your Sasco, such as your other political formations, is something that's very important, because we've noticed that important communication gets lost when you guys train SRCs alone, but then the rest of the other structures don't get trained. So can you find effective measures, or what effective measures are you guys going to ensure that they are going to be there to ensure the war room is successful? That's number one. Number two, our institution currently introduced a method which is registering students on a faculty basis, meaning that they allocate days as to when they're going to register students for a certain faculty. So I wanted to know that since we've been facing problems with institutions submitting the incorrect registration data and the incorrect marks, what's the standard that you guys are going to do? Because this has been happening for 2 years, and this is the third year ongoing if it proceeds on to next year. So what are the current solutions that you guys are going to have to ensure that the students that are registered on time are students that the registration data has been sent and it's verified? Because this is the problem that we are facing at the gates. Northwest University. Thank you.
Greetings to the House. Comrade CEO, I would like to have, the first issue that I have is the inefficient administration. Sorry for a moment. Okay, NSFAS has been plagued by administrative inefficiencies, including a backlog of apples and a lack of transparency in decision making. My question is, what is being done to address the administrative inefficiencies within NSFAS, and how will this improve the student experience? Also, Mr. CEO, I would like to have clarity pertaining to the following. Second semester, most of UNISA students' registration were not finalized because NSFAS did not send data of funded students to UNISA. As a result, many students were financially excluded for second semester. Therefore, as UNISA students, would like to have clarity pertaining to the following. Also, my last question is, why is UNISA students not receiving meal allowances like any other institutions? Because when you say the student is eligible for funding, you acknowledge that the student needs all necessary support, including meal allowance, succeeded in their studies. Thank you.
Revolutionary greetings to the House. Comrade CEO, so I have two questions. So the first one is that, how is it still possible that we have students who had applied for the missing middle loan for the current academic year, but have never received any form of response from the financial aid? And the second one is that, with the circular that was released on the anticipation of 100,000 eligible students losing the financial aid and the many issues that are of course ongoing, can we still regard NSFAS as a sustainable and effective measure of government's effort towards ensuring that higher education is free and accessible to all? Thank you.
Greetings, comrades. Comrade CEO, my issue mostly affects first years or first-time appliers. With NSFAS, when students apply and they get funding, the institution releases a list of funded students. But suddenly throughout the year, there's another list that get released and students don't find their names there, whereas they already registered. So now it's the end of the year, students don't have funding and they owe the institution and their results are retained. I want to know what's the possible solution that NSFAS would do for the students so that they can get their fees paid. Because now, as a SASA beneficiary, where are you going to get 100,000 to pay the fees that you owe the institution? Thank you.
Thanks, Program Director. I have one question. I'm from the TVET sector. I want to ask a question in terms of the occupational programs. NSFAS have taken the place of CETA in terms of funding the occupational programs. However, you find that the students that did NCV 3 years, they are not funded to upskill and have trade certificates. Now, I want to ask CFO, how can probably please readjust the funding qualification or guidelines? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. To the CEO of NSFAS, my question is only one and one and only. My question is that can NSFAS decentralize the offices so that we as students in different provinces can have access to those offices and make sure that there's accountability for those students who are not funded? Thank you.
You are lucky, but someone asked that question, but you are lucky.
Thanks, Comrade President. Greetings, Comrade CEO. I'm only left with one question. My question is that why is NSFAS not funding work integrated learning students? Because in the institution that I come from, in MUT, students are enrolled, especially in engineering courses. They are enrolled and they finish all their academics. When it's time to do the last 6 months of their program, which is their work integrated learning, they are told that they will no longer be funded because NSFAS does not fund the work integrated learning, yet the integrated learning, it forms part of the qualification itself. Students don't get their qualifications, they don't get to graduate because in terms of work integrated learning, they have to fend for themselves in terms of rent and how they feed themselves and how they get to work. Because a student that was funded by NSFAS is a student that is underprivileged. And them being underprivileged doesn't make sense that now in the last 6 months of their program, they are told that they will no longer be funded, yet the last 6 months forms part of the actual qualification. Thank you.
Greetings to the CEO of NSFAS and the House at large. My name is Umduchana Oguhle, I from Eastern Cape. My question to the CEO is, you as the CEO, don't you think that you as the NSFAS is the reason why you recently took out a statement that most of the learners next year won't be qualifying to have funding, of which it is that it says NSFAS is not stopping funding but faces a massive 14 billion budget shortfall, meaning it might not be able to fund all qualifying students. And also you as NSFAS, NSFAS is renting its operational head offices in Cape Town with an approximate amount of 2.5 million monthly. So you as CEO, didn't you see, the list started in 2022. From that, don't you think you've wasted more money renting offices, of which NSFAS is a South African government entity that provides bursaries? So how come it has to also rent a private property to operate? So don't you think you contributed to the, what do you call this, to the budget shortfall? That's my question.
Thank you so much. As I'm one of the students who got evicted from their residence because NSFAS allowance didn't come through, how does NSFAS plan to support students who have been victims of crimes as a result of being kicked out of their residence due to non-payment of allowances? And what specific measures are in place to address their needs and ensure their safety as well as their well-being? Thank you.
Most direct. Who's?
Thanks, Deputy President. So, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I think for me, more than anything, I have two requests to the CEO of NSFAS more than questions, right? I'd like to think I speak for all medical schools in South Africa to say, one, we commend the stance that you have taken to ensure that you are fast-tracking everything related to application and registration towards the students of the country. However, in doing so, may we please also consider that we tend to be different in terms of the academic calendar. So in as much as you want everything to be done by February, please take into consideration that we start our academic year in January. For my campus specifically, the 12th of January. So we'd appreciate it if the provisionally funded list of NSFAS students be sent to the universities earliest by the first week of January. And then, the second request, you have prided yourself in being a student-centric financial aid scheme. By saying so, it means that you are willing to listen and sit down with students and hear their requests. We have made a request for a 12-month allowance allocation towards medical school. This is not only specific to us, but to all other students who find themselves having to attend for more than the 10 months allocated. So may we please go back to the engagement table and look into that. Thank you.
Protocol observed. Comrade Makwela from the mighty province in the north that is led by Comrade Sox and overseen by Comrade Pshishi. I want to be short like a miniskirt leadership. NSFAS, please stop giving us free stress than free education. Because you promised our parents that let your kids come to tertiary level. We will provide and we will co-parent with you. And lastly, we are NSFAS beneficiaries. Service providers are not NSFAS beneficiaries. So when you accredit, NSFAS must come personally to accredit and then not send service providers. Thank you.
Tariq.
Mandla. Oh, wait, you? Thank you. Comrades, I'm going to be brief. In relation to this, to the CEO of NSFAS, thank you for joining us. My question is two. Number one, I think there were multiple SIU reports released last year in relation to over 2 billion rands in funds that were recovered from institutions that processes were corrupted and through the process of ghost students. What are the legal consequences, despite the fact that that money has been recovered? What are the legal consequences? Because, comrades, 2 billion can go towards that funding shortfall of the 14 billion. You know what I'm saying, comrades? So that's number one. What are the legal consequences of preventing this sort of further corruption within institutions of higher learning? Number two is the question of insourcing services. I think it was a very good point that comrades have raised around this idea that what is the posture of NSFAS when it comes to insourcing versus third party? Because the outsourcing seems to be at the core of the failure of NSFAS's service delivery as it relates to things like direct payment and accreditation. So if we can just get clarity in terms of why exactly and what is the posture of NSFAS? Finally, what is the posture of NSFAS on long-term free education within the context of Sasco Students' Charter? Build the charter, build a branch. Build the charter, build the branch. Mandla.
Thank you. Comrades, the name is Lonabos Hamza, a 2K in good standing. I just have one quick question to you, Mr. CEO. Of the 55 offices that you mentioned as part of your decentralizing project, what will be the authority of those offices that are decentralized? Will they have the authority of taking decisions such that they do not need to go to the headquarters of NSFAS, or will they just be sites of troubleshooting to the headquarters of NSFAS? Because
If that's the case, then they are good as futile. So what will be the authority of those offices? If they don't have authority, can they be empowered to have authority to take such a decision? Thank you.
Thanks, DP. Thanks, Comrade Wasim. We have launched Meet DP here. Quickly, on tuition fees, Comrade CEO, I want to hear your view. Institutions have fluctuating tuition fees of the same either degree or qualification. Why is NSFAS using taxpayers' monies to pay a law degree in UNISA that is different from a law degree in UWC? Why is NSFAS allowing that? Don't you think that there's wasteful expenditure involved? Two, on your view in terms of how does institutional autonomy hamper your administrative role in rolling out how to save the ship in terms of how NSFAS is in stabilizing NSFAS as we have presented? Thirdly, there was an accommodation policy framework that was circulated for stakeholder engagement. How does that accommodation framework of NSFAS save the accommodation crisis, and what would it mean for the poor and working class students that are currently suffering in terms of accommodation? Fourthly, what is your relation with particularly USAF, and how does USAF enable you or disable you to be able to function and roll out your vision as the new acting CEO? There's an issue of defunded students that has not been addressed. What would be the reasons of continuously having defunded students that would have funding beginning of the year, midway of that particular academic project, those students are defunded, and the result would be that either they are going to be kicked out of their accommodation and otherwise in terms of the allowances that aid academic excellence. Rejected students that qualify. I think this is linked with the IT systems that comrades have raised here. The systems that NSFAS has, I think the CIO had resigned because of failures and the pressure previously of not being able to handle your digitalized system of handling applications, of handling appeals, and handling whatever information and communication that has been raised. But now, what is your strategy in saving that ship insofar as how then the IT system is not going to be having glitches that are going to cause a mayhem within the higher education spectrum? Thanks.
Siyabonga Mangi. CEO, I don't know because some questions were repetitive. Some of them you already clarified when you made your statement or address. Please come and respond.
Thanks, Chairperson. Thank you for the questions, comrades. So I'll start TVET allowances. I think if there's any student-specific issues, allowances, appeals, President will give you my contact details. You are welcome. I keep saying SRC leaders should feel free to contact me about any student-specific issues that they are facing. So feel free to reach out. We have a turnaround time that we must provide feedback on any student-specific issues that we are facing. I want to talk about this issue of defunding. There are two criteria that students must meet to be a beneficiary of NSFAS.
Comrades at the back, chairs and secretaries, regional leadership, can you ensure that there's no movement, comrades? It's quite disturbing. Can the leadership of provinces and regions take charge, comrades? Please.
Okay, thanks, Comrade DP. If a student meets financial eligibility, they come from a household that is less than 350,000. And if they meet academic eligibility to be accepted by a university or TVET college, And if they are a continuing student, they meet the academic progression criteria. And NSFAS confirms that they are funded. There is no student in South Africa that should be defunded. If NSFAS took a wrong decision, you can't punish the student for the decision. NSFAS officials must be dealt with, but you can't punish the student. So I want to say this practice of defunding must come to an end. And I want to say that in 2026, we want to give a commitment that there will be no defunding of students. The only instance in which you can have defunding is if a student materially misrepresented the facts of their application. That is, they lied on their application. Other than that, no student should be defunded here. Yeah? Issues of 10 months, we are trying to look across the sector. I know medical students is one, but there are many students in TVET who are also affected. So we are trying to look at and implement that those students should receive 11 months or 12-month allowances for 2026. In addition to that, for TVET students where there was the extra 2 weeks in December, we issued a circular to all landlords to say those students should be retained. The students shouldn't be evicted. You can find that circular on our website so that students are protected during that additional period. No student should be rejected on the basis of lack of funding here. So if you have a TVET student who is rejected for second semester, that shouldn't be the case. You should raise that issue with NSFAS. No student should be prevented from registering because NSFAS itself says it doesn't have a lack of funds. Issues of historical debt might be affected by the closeout project, but again, it's difficult to say without individual queries. If there are students who are unable to receive graduation certificates because of debt, because they were NSFAS beneficiary, must escalate those issues to us so we can assist you in clearing them there. Limited spaces is an important policy question, and I think it's an important policy question that we need to answer for the future. So one is that I think there needs to be an acceptance that not every single student in South Africa must or needs to go to university. We need a differential set of skills in the country. So we need students who go to technical and vocational training colleges and learn real skills. We need young people who participate in National Youth Service. We need young people who open their own businesses and have entrepreneurship as a course here. We have to make use of community-based colleges. What we need is a system that caters to every student's abilities and their needs, and which creates universal access as much as possible. With that being said, we do have a shortage of universities, and we need to hold government to account for the new universities that it had committed to construct and build. Equally, we need to ensure that we promote digital learning. Not every single person needs to go to an institution of higher learning. We can promote digital learning so that more access is created for students. When it comes to issues of UNISA, when we cleared the backlog of funding, we reprioritized funding, we reopened the registration portal twice. So if UNISA has still not uploaded second semester registrations, I would be very concerned. But again, you are welcome through the SRC to escalate that issue to us. Any student who qualifies for NSFAS should receive their registration template here. UNISA allowances. Comrades will need to advise me why a distance learning university where students stay at home should qualify for meal allowances here. I know there's a strong lobby. I know previously UNISA students would not even receive personal care allowances. We've now introduced personal care. But UNISA is our biggest cohort of students. We have 170,000 students at UNISA. If we were to introduce living allowance for UNISA students, that would cost us another 2 billion rand. 2 billion rand, I don't know where to find where here. Yeah? So we also need to be reflective in saying there is a question of whether UNISA has drifted away from its mission. Because if you go to Sunnyside today, you will find that the majority of residents there are UNISA students here, And is UNISA really achieving its mandate as a distance learning university? third parties, we fully agree. NSFAS should not be utilizing middlemen, third parties to be able to execute on its own functions here. Comrades, I can't account for historical decisions that were taken before my time. What I can say to you is under my tenure, NSFAS will build capacity to execute on its vision, on its mission, and on its mandate to society without using intermediaries here. Students who applied during the TVET cycle, again, we confirm that all of those students should not be blocked from funding. We allowed them to register. NSFAS has improved its system so students can't apply for university during the TVET cycle. We have removed the option to apply for university on our systems during the TVET cycle, but we've also separated the TVET cycles from the university cycle, so we have no overlaps in that regard here. Dual registration, my understanding is if you are registered at 2 institutions, you become blocked until such time as we can clarify your institution, so we can't make duplicate payments. But of course, if you are aware of instances where that is happening, once again, feel free to bring that to our attention. 2023 crisis, that is being resolved through the closeout project. The issue of the direct payment partners and students who were unfairly affected will be reimbursed for what they initiated. Scrapping of NSFAS, and there was 2 points around this here, right? The reality is that when the function was with institutions themselves, there was a lot of fraud and corruption here. Yeah? You had institutions who would take bribes, who would accept favors for registering students outside of the threshold. And that is one of the reasons NSFAS's services were centralized in the first place here. Yeah? The second element is that Tariq said 2 million. Institutions had to return 2 billion to NSFAS here. Yeah? So if we think that institutions are perfect at managing funds, it's not necessarily the case. What we need is an institution, and there are no holy cows here. If NSFAS must be closed, then NSFAS must be closed here. But we need an effective and an efficient student organization that is able to administer funding in a transparent and an effective way, that puts the student at the center of what we are trying to achieve here. Yeah? The mechanism for that can differ. And fraud and corruption is unfortunately a societal issue. And we must also confront the difficult reality of where our own comrades and our own SRCs are involved in this kind of things. Yeah? SRCs who take students from one landlord and move them to another landlord here, because landlords are willing to assist here and there. So we must confront the difficult realities that we face. The head of the NPA says, you can't prosecute your way out of corruption. We need to create a culture of accountability here. Yeah? I'd be very worried if there are universities which have accommodation where they are not providing transport. Please bring those issues to our attention. I will take up the issue of UKZN and students having to walk 5 kilometers here. The war room, my understanding is that the SAUS represents the interests of university students in the war room, and communications from the war room are downstream to SAUS, and SAUS provides them to SRCs. Receiving registration data on time. NSFAS registration portal will be open early in January. That means institutions must give us reg data as soon as possible. It is why we're trying to make funding decisions earlier, getting the admission list early in January so that we can confirm funding, make disbursements. We can't keep repeating issues of the past here. Sustainability of NSFAS is a big issue, and I hope it's something you will confront during your policy conference. The reality is that students at basic education level are doing better. They're acquiring more bachelor passes. The South African economy is not growing, which means more households qualify for NSFAS. And state resources are declining in real terms here, which means there are more students than what NSFAS can accommodate. But I want to come back to the point, is to say this is not a debate about loans and bursaries for me here, right? If students go to university or college and they pass and they graduate on time and they go and work, those students start to contribute to the tax base via the employees' tax that they pay, via the VAT that they pay, and that tax money comes back into the system. So if we focus on being a performance-based fund, we will create a self-sustaining higher education system for the future. The worst thing we can do is prevent students from graduating, because that is what starts to cripple the system. We're moving away from the old NCV into the occupational qualifications, where you have a mixture of theoretical as well as experimental training. So NCV is being phased out and replaced by occupational qualifications. There are already TVET institutions which are ready to implement that in 2026. We will certainly consider, as part of the policy amendments, to fund the continued allowance for work-integrated learning students. I don't think we differ too much on that one there. Cutting students, I want to say that in 2026, we will not cut any students from NSFAS. Yeah? But we have to start to implement reforms, particularly around academic progression. If students are not progressing academically, they should not remain on NSFAS, because they are taking up space that is preventing other students from registering. So those are the reforms that need to be implemented there. I can't account for the lease that was entered into, but even if you were to terminate that lease today and remove all NSFAS employees, make them to work from home, if you took all that lease money and put it back, you would fund 300 extra students. Yeah. So the NSFAS lease is a problem, I agree, but it is not the problem. Yeah. By the way, the SIU is in the process of terminating that lease. We are moving ourselves into institutions of higher learning and a much smaller head office here. I've spoken about insourcing and removing of middlemen. We've spoken, the decentralized offices will have delegations to allow them to make decisions, take actions, resolve students' issues on the spot, so you don't have to keep calling Cape Town to be able to resolve that. I think more issues around policy-related issues. We agree. A BCom accounting at WUSU shouldn't cost 30,000 and a BCom accounting at WITS costs 100,000. We agree. But in its current state, is NSFAS able to tell anybody what they should do around policy? Because the question gets asked to NSFAS to say, get your own house in order before you start making policy directives on behalf of everybody else. So we agree on elements such as that here. Yeah? And I think as we stabilize and reform NSFAS, that is the policy direction we can take ourselves here. The accommodation protocol is introduced to increase oversight, because the reality is poorly maintained university residences, NSFAS had no oversight over that. Yet our beneficiaries were residing on that. Universities were claiming full cost for university residences. So the protocol is introduced for NSFAS to have better oversight over what is happening in campuses to ensure our beneficiaries are protected on a day-to-day basis. I think USAF, as a representative of universities, has its own interests that it wants to pursue. But let me say that I do not think in my 8 months at NSFAS that USAF is the enemy here. I think USAF wants a stable higher education sector. USAF is committed to addressing the issues of historical debt. They are committed to working with NSFAS. They've offered their support to NSFAS. And I don't think what this is a battle for control. I think collectively between student organizations, institutional bodies, NSFAS, the Department of Higher Education and Training, we have to find the right compromises that enable us to work for the students. I think I've responded to the majority of the issues. I really hope comrades escalate issues, because if we're not aware, we can't wait for Sasco Policy Conference, Sasco National Conference to raise our issues. You guys should have a direct line to our office so that we're able to resolve your issues on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. But let me say, it will not take 2 weeks or 2 months to fix NSFAS. Yeah? I think the turnaround needs at least 6 months to a year. The hole we are in is deep, comrades. There have been many historical decisions that have put us in a difficult position. What we are doing is committed to working with leadership of Sasco and other progressive institutions in correcting the wrongs of the past and to ensure students are placed at the center of the NSFAS agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, CEO. Comrade Tariq, as you come forth.
Mandla. Away, chu. But comrades. Mandla. Away, chu. Thank you, comrades. Look, comrades, through the chairpersonship of the seating, we're going to move into commission. So I want to briefly explain, comrades, what we intend to do here, right? There are 6 commissions, comrades. Comrades in the back, are you engaging? Yeah, comrades, there's 6 commissions, right? The idea of commissions within the context of NPC, comrades, is not to redevelop positions of Sasco. We have had National Congress, we have had NPC that have concretized our positions. A policy conference, what we are trying to do here, comrades, is to take what we said in National Congress and turn it into actions and policies of Sasco now, right? Mandla. So, comrades, the 6 commissions are all going to be within the hall. I'm just going to read the names of the comrades who are going to be the chairs, resources, and scribers. So if you comrades are interested, go to where they are going to be seated, right? IR and ideology, the chairpersonship is going to be Comrade Damien. It's going to be resourced by Comrade Damien as well. Our scribe is going to be Comrade CEO. Can I make the suggestion, okay, Comrade DP, that IR and ideology can be here, comrades? Organizational renewal and development is Comrade Ishmael is chairing, and resourcing alongside Comrade Zikaya, who's also going to scribe. Comrade Ishmael, Comrade Zikaya, maybe in the corner at the back there. Gender comrades, Comrade Kate is going